Mike, I cannot tell you how obsessed I am with my JASPR, and I love what you guys are doing. I think I shared with you when we met in Austin that we had recently gotten over a really big mold remediation, and it had a major impact on my family. And we had been using another company. I'm not going to say names, but I was like, we have to move over to JASPR. And I have been so happy. I'm just so grateful that we've got clean air in our house. And I'm just so happy to get to, I've been wanting to have this conversation for so long. I'm a little too giddy excited. And people are like, you're really that giddy about an air purification system? I'll tell you what, once you go through something like a mold remediation, like you're just like, you don't go back. And then you realize how much pollution is coming through our air and how much that affects our overall health and our inflammation. You'll understand. So, Mike, I'm curious. My first question, because you guys have done such a beautiful job. Not only are you educating and you are literally making the world a cleaner place to live. What was the impetus? Was there a defining moment for you? Was there a story?
Yes, absolutely. So Cole's notes, my background before starting JASPR, I was in mold remediation, flood cleanup, fires, hurricanes. So I was traveling all over the country and Canada doing big restoration projects. And I got to see firsthand how bad the air quality was and how sick it was making people. And then I realized it's not just after floods and fires and hurricanes that the air is bad. It's pretty much bad indoors everywhere. And the defining moment was actually after the Fort McMurray wildfire. So it was the biggest fire in Canadian history in 2016. And yeah, people the air quality there stayed bad for 6+ months after the fire. And people were getting very sick. And we would use these machines on the job site called air scrubbers. Big, ugly industrial air purifiers. They're called scrubbers. And when I compared those machines that we were using to what people were getting at Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, small little plastic air purifiers, I'm like, holy shit, these little things don't really work. So the vision was, and it was devastatingly sad because we would remediate someone's home and then a week later they were sick again. So we weren't actually, I call it sad money. We were doing all this work, but we weren't actually giving people a good outcome. So I realized the actual problem here, a lot of companies could remove the mold, but then you'd remediate. And how do you remediate mold? You have to contain the area, physically remove it, and scrub the air. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people were getting the cut it out part right, but they weren't scrubbing the air. So then their home would get cross-contaminated even during remediation. So I set out to create the world's first air scrubber that's actually quiet and beautiful, but still industrial grade and steel and all that, because if it's ugly and loud, it doesn't matter how good it works. It's just not practical to have in a home. Good for a construction site, not good for a home. And the whole mission for the company is we have a very clear air awareness, and there's so many people that are struggling from all kinds of stuff: autoimmune, inflammation, mold, bad allergies, bad sleep, brain fog, and they're doing all the stuff. They're getting lots of blood work and they're supplementing. And I find it pretty ironic. Like the word supplement was supposed to be supplementary, and it's become so primary. Whether it's Western medicine giving you pills and meds and pharmaceutical or more natural things, it's still a lot of pills. And now the amount of wins that we see people getting all the time where they've been doing all the stuff, but they're sleeping and they spend 95% of their life indoors, and their indoor environment has heavily contaminated air. And you can't heal in the place that made you sick. When you think about the environment, you think about outside, the clouds and the rivers and the trees and the rain. But most people, if you're spending 95% of the time, your environment is your home and your bedroom and your office. That's your primary environment. Then from the secondary environment is outside. And a lot of people are completely neglecting their environment, their air, their water, their lighting. And I've now seen people have revolutionary health outcomes: no longer snoring, no more allergies, no more asthma attacks, thyroid improving. Because if you're sleeping in a sick place, it's very hard to be healthy.
Yeah, agreed. That's so much of the conversation I've had with lots of patients and even lots of friends who things are popping up. And I think that they feel like, oh, I can just do a little bit here, or I can just supplement. I can just detox this stuff out. I'm like, not if you're living in it. Not if it's not going anywhere. Like you can't outrun it.
No, you can't. And a lot of people try to move to Arizona or somewhere where it's the desert or a dry climate. Often I see people getting more mold toxicity there than anywhere, because you can't run from it, because no matter what, you need to have water sources in your home. You're going to have plumbing, you're going to drink water, you're going to have taps. And all the desert sand that creates dust in your home, it used to all be underwater. So when you sample the desert sand, it has old ancient molds in it too. And then because you're not exposed to much humidity, as soon as there is a mold event or a humidity event, you have no resistance to it. So it's not something you can run from or hide from, but it's the same like water in your home. You don't really need to get your water tested, because if you have city water or well water, it's not good. You have to filter your water. You have to cook your food. And if you want to live in an indoor environment that has furniture and paint and chemicals and toxins and doesn't breathe properly, you have to filter your air. If you think about a river flowing, rivers tend to be cleaner water because they're constantly flowing, they're constantly moving. Fresh water is flowing through them. But once it gets dammed off, and if you have a pond, a stagnant body of water, it gets algae, it gets bacteria, it gets infested, it turns green. Same thing with a pool. If you turn off your pool pump, your pool is going to be a cesspool in days, because the water is no longer moving and flowing. And our homes are basically ponds. The reason that you don't have dust and mold outside and you feel good when you go outside, the outdoor environment is like a flowing river. And then our homes are like dammed up, where our homes are these little ponds, and it just isn't getting enough fresh air. So there's kind of two things to it. You need fresh air, and then you need to filter that air.
Yeah, I was thinking, I want to just share a little story. We won
Please do.
water purification system. And obviously, we have JASPRs everywhere. But my son, I was telling you, he's going to a farm camp, and he's there for 6 hours a day in the sun. And it's not crazy sun. We're in San Diego. It's not super crazy, but still. And he's a consumer of water. He's always drank purified water. And I had this moment where because he has to carry everything, and he weighs 34 pounds. That's how much he weighs. Like, how much can this child carry? Water is heavy. And I thought he had a 17-ounce water. He's a big drinker of water. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe they're going to refill his water. And I was hoping, because it's his organic farm, it's really high, really, they do a lot of good things. But he came home within the first week and he's like, Mom, they're refilling my water and it's yucky water. It doesn't taste good.
Awesome.
And he told me immediately, he's like, it's not like our water. He's like, I don't like it. And I was like, you just like, as a mom, you're like, I just knew. I knew that was probably the case. Like, I didn't want to be that high maintenance mom that asked.
Yeah.
That was like, are you guys giving the kids purification water? Like, what's the deal? No, it's tap water. And San Diego tap water is not, I would say tap water across the board is not good, but definitely not here. And so now one, they're not allowed to refill his water. And two, unfortunately, my son now is having to carry 2 water bottles to school, but that's so he has the purified water from our house. It's the only way we can get around it. That's just, it's how we're living. It is what it is. And I know that people listening to this are thinking, that sounds a bit high maintenance, but at the end of the day, like, the water is what is saturating our cells. It's 70% of our mass, give or take. And, if we're breathing crappy air and we're drinking crappy water, the end result's not going to be good.
I like to remind people that you eat 2 or 3 pounds of food in a day. You drink 2 or 3 liters of water. If you're a great water drinker, that's like a gallon. Most people don't, but you breathe over 5,000 gallons of air per day. So in terms of your intake, you're drinking way more water and you're breathing more air than any other input in your body. And 70% of the detox actually happens in your lungs. So you don't really realize it, but when you're making your lungs work so much harder than they need to as a filter. And in terms of water, fun, I have a story too, actually, about my kids. So my daughter is Aria. She just turned 5 a couple months ago.
Okay, yeah, they're pretty much close in age.
So when we had reverse osmosis water, she was basically never drinking it. And I was finding myself not drinking much either. And she's generally like a super well-behaved, calm girl. But she was starting to like have outbursts at night, and just her emotional regulation was going down. We got spring water system installed, or not installed. We started to get delivered spring water from Alive Water, and a little bit of electrolytes from a brand called Kono, because we tried a bunch of different electrolytes and all of them were upsetting her stomach. But it was amazing. As soon as we moved to spring water, all of a sudden she was craving water. And I'd like to go to the impulse of the child, because like they're not overthinking it. But when we would have a not good water source, she would have almost no desire to drink. We didn't realize that she was like chronically dehydrated. As soon as we cleaned up the water game, her mood, her patience, her emotional regulation, it's perfect now. So, we were thinking about all these other little things and hiding in plain sight, like she was just dehydrated. So I can't speak for air and not acknowledge water. They're very much equally important.
I do appreciate you mentioning that. I think that they are, I would say, I do educate a lot on things that we can do that are free in terms of cleaning up our air. Like, don't wear shoes in the house, consistently dust and vacuum. Again, I don't know how many plants one needs to have, but have as many plants as possible in the house. And like, obviously there's free things that we can be doing that we do all the time in our house. But at the end of the day, like once you have the ability to invest, I would say air first and then bring in the water purification system.
Yeah. So let's talk about free things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if there's a reason that we're here talking today, it's to just increase your environmental awareness and realizing your home is your atmosphere. Your air and your water might be the missing link in a completely transformed life and the way you feel and your energy. But the best stuff is the stuff that you can literally implement in the next 24 hours where you don't have to buy a thing. So let's talk about that for a sec. But I'll start by addressing the plant thing because unfortunately, like there was a study done, I think in the 70s, where it's called the Nassau plant study, where they ranked all the different plants by their air quality benefits. What is important to note, no one's ever been able to replicate that study.
Ah, got it.
And theoretically, plants are the best. JASPR's logo is literally a tree because trees are the ultimate air purifier. However, in our homes, and I've done a bunch of testing. I filled rooms with plants. I measured the carbon dioxide, the particulate. I can't get anything it doesn't even budge because it's just not enough volume. It'd be like having a teeny little air purifier. In order for you to have enough plants to make a difference, you would now have new issues with pests and humidity. So I love plants, but I love them as much as I love good lighting or good interior design. I actually think that interior design is also a health thing because if you're in a space with bright black ceilings and pink walls and bright lights, how are you going to feel calm in that environment? Whereas if you have windows and natural light and light walls and good decor and it's minimalistic and stuff, it's just like there's noise pollution, right? There's light pollution, there's air pollution, there's water pollution. I think good design is also really important for the way that we feel in a space. And so what are some things that people can do? I completely agree with shoes. And also I grew up in Canada before I moved to Austin. You don't wear your shoes inside people's homes. I guess really in any winter climate, that's probably just like foundational, no shoes inside because it would be gross in the winter. Since I moved to Austin, like nobody takes off shoes. They'll just come right into your home with shoes. Contractor will walk right across your carpet, completely unaware. The good thing and the bad thing is that's annoying. And my wife, Rachel, has to keep having a bigger and bigger and bigger sign about please take off your shoes. We have to make it very abundantly clear. The good news is it just shows how much things are an awareness piece. It's like the Uber driver with the Christmas tree and the fresheners. They're not bad people trying to make you sick, but it's easy to get annoyed at them for doing that. And then
I'm always worried about it's a major migraine trigger for me. I have canceled. I cannot tell you how many times I've almost gotten into a car and I'm like, I can't be in here. But I always think like, how can anyone be in this? How do you drive in this all day? Like, I'm like, do you know these are
you just inspired me.
Yeah.
You inspired me because we've been thinking about some good, like long form documentary style content we're going to do. We're going to do a deep dive on the health effects of air fresheners. And a big part of it will be the cars because Ben Azadi, he's a
good friend.
He runs in our circles. Good health guy. I went for dinner with him after doing his podcast and he had a business card that said seed oil, basically his allergies.
Yeah, no seed oils. Like if you cook with any of these.
It called it allergies. Mm-hmm. And then it shifted him from the annoying customer to and it's English and Spanish, which is also pretty cool. He lives in Florida. So I've been thinking about making something similar with like a little QR code on it to give to Uber drivers so they can just scan it. Be like, check this out. Because if I'm just the annoying customer in the back being like, take out your Christmas tree, remove your things, it's not really that impactful. But if you can give them a little card and code that's like, make it about their own health more than about the guest's experience, the passenger's experience. So I think we're going to make sure in the next quarter or two, we will do a really good educational video deep diving onto what air fresheners are doing to people.
Yeah, and
Because
hotel lobbies as well, because those are, I mean, they're massive, massive air freshener systems that they put into the lobby. It's mind blowing to me.
and some are, it goes from bad to really bad. Some of them are like medium bad, but then some of them are like horrifying. And then just even the little plugins, like if anyone out there is going to buy a home and you see any air fresheners or plugins on your home inspection, what you need to do is unplug all of them and reschedule your home inspection. Because the way that air fresheners work is they hijack your ability to smell. So it's not just that they're covering up things, it blocks your basically the sensors in your nose that allow you to sense danger. So there could be a lot of mold in the air. They throw some air fresheners in. Now you can't smell the mold. You just smell that other chemical smell. So if anyone's ever like, Airbnb, unplug them right away. I've seen a lot of people get tricked on home inspections. And a lot of time when I go to open houses, they have them everywhere. And that's usually a sign that there's mold. So do not purchase a house unless you let it breathe. Those air fresheners are gone for a couple days and then you get to reinspect. But if you're smelling those chemicals, don't buy that home.
Ooh, good to know. I mean, I am like any gyms, like locker rooms, I am the girl who throws them away. Like, I'm like, let me do everybody a favor right now and just throw this thing away. Or I just won't go back to that. I just won't go back, you know?
It's sad. Like you go to like, yeah, everywhere they got those fresheners. What you want is clean air, not
Yes,
chemical
not
filled
chemical
air.
air.
Like
Yeah.
this is not the solution. That's like saying like, instead of filtering your water, let's just throw in a chlorine tab. If someone's doing that when they're camping to survive for a weekend, okay, I get it. But that cannot be your everyday water. Okay, so
Okay, so
back
we were
to it.
back.
We
Yeah.
we had
So shoes off. Shoes
so
off.
shoes off for sure.
Yeah.
No air fresheners for sure. We'll start in the kitchen.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you first want to test your range hood, and I'll use the word range hood and vent interchangeably, but it's the thing above the stove that's supposed to vent air outside. Most of those microwave style, like over 50% of them don't work at all anyway. And what means that it doesn't work? So here's what you got to do. Your first test is called the tissue test. Take a Kleenex, take a toilet paper, paper towel, whatever. Turn that fan on to fan speed 1 or fan speed 2. Start with fan speed 1 and see if it even pulls it up. It should hold it there flat. If it doesn't, it's not sucking up air. Part 2 is check where it's venting. Oftentimes, it's just venting up or into the little cupboard behind it or behind the wall.
To the cupboard.
It's not even venting outside.
No. Yeah,
that's-
we're fixing that.
That's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Then you want to make sure if you're like boiling stuff or simmering stuff where it's on there for a while, we want to balance convenience always. But if the back burners gets captured a lot better than the front burners. So if you're ever like cooking stuff and you look at the smoke or the steam coming up from the front burner, maybe it's capturing 50 to 70%. The back burner is going to get like 90% because it's more directly under the vent. And this is important because cooking is one of the biggest sources of indoor air pollutants in your home. And it doesn't matter if you're using your cast iron pan or your stainless steel with organic oils and grass-fed steak, because high heat and protein creates secondary airborne byproducts like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and heavy VOCs. So even though the oils and the foods are okay to eat, it doesn't mean the secondary compounds are okay, and especially not to breathe. And then what happens is they get embedded in your furniture, into your clothing, into your carpets, into your pillows, saturated, and now you're living with that stuff. So cooking is a huge source of indoor air pollution, and it's not getting vented because your home is built so tight. So that's the cooking side. Bathrooms, do the same test that we mentioned before with the range hood of the vent. Do that with your bathroom fan, because those things, like after you shower, there can be a lot of water. Just think about how much water a towel can soak up. Like, so after a bath or a shower, there's a lot of water on the floor, in the drain, on the towel. If you have a family of 4 and there's 3 or 4 showers a day, it could be a gallon of water each. You could be dumping 4 gallons of water into your air every single day. So the purpose of the bathroom fan is to vent that moisture out. So First step again, tissue test. Make sure it's actually pulling it. Make sure it's venting outside. A lot of them vent into your attic. That's why you get attic mold a lot of the time, because you're just dumping all the moisture into a confined space that's not breathing properly. And then if you want to go one step beyond that, and I usually keep my bathroom fan on for an hour or two after a shower. Also, if you're in a place that has windows that open in the bathroom and it's reasonable temperature, keep it open. Don't even worry about the bathroom fan. By code, you're supposed to have a bathroom fan or a window that opens. Some states may not have that. And then the other one is there's these things, those little, you don't need to get a sensor. You can just get one of the timer based fans. So in your bathroom, when you're done the shower, like hit the 1 hour or the 2 hour button. That way you don't have to come back and do it again. It will just run it for 2 hours and forget about it. And that way has the most evaporation is happening early on. It can be venting out. Those things are big, big steps. And then look at the products that you're using from a chemical perspective, there's a couple websites like Think Dirty and EWG that tell you how healthy and safe are. Now, if you have a Jasper becomes a lot of people's like toxic detector. So if you use like Lysol or Windex or Clorox or any of those brands, Jasper's going to get red. So Jasper has a sensor on board that goes from green to yellow to red, and it shows you the particulate in the VOCs in real time. So if it's going red when you're using your hairspray or you're washing the floors, this is a good sign that it's polluting the air quite a bit. Whereas if you're using healthier, clean living type products, Jasper's going to stay cool the whole time. But yeah, just thinking about the stuff that you're spraying and using in your home. Now, you're right about dusting and keeping your surfaces clean. And to me, another like area of awareness to share with people are mopping, they're dusting, they're vacuuming, they're wiping counters. That's surface cleaning. And most people aren't filtering their air. So what happens is you clean all these surfaces. First of all, it kicks up back into the air. A home should not really have any household dust. Dust is merely a symptom of poor air quality. That's why there's really not much dust, if any, outside. There's not really mold growing on the outside of your home. It's our homes are built so tight, it's like there's a bag over your home suffocating it. It's like you only get mold on the bread when you put it in the Tupperware. When you leave it out, it doesn't get moldy. When you put it in an airtight environment, it gets moldy. So just when you kind of think about the emphasis that you're putting, like when I was cleaning up remediation and stuff, mold, etc., it was always a two-pronged approach. We have to clean the surfaces and we have to clean the air. And if you smell garbage, you go into a home and you smell garbage, it's because you're breathing the garbage. Because just because something's on the surface, it's also aerosolizing. You're also breathing it. And cleaning your air and cleaning your surfaces should go in tandem. If you ever get your carpets cleaned, you'll notice that the water comes out like black. 50% of the dirt that accumulates on your carpet is from the shoes and the food and the pets and the skin cells. The other half comes from your air. So if you just think about, a swimming pool, you don't jump in the pool with a sponge and scrub the side of the pool. How do you clean a pool? With a water filter. You want to clean the water more than the sides. And in this modern time, these companies got really good at marketing all these nice scented products and Molly Maid and all that stuff. So they've conditioned everyone to think about spending all this time and money doing surface cleaning while completely neglecting air cleaning. And once I had that air awareness and dialed that in for my family, it's been game changing.
Yeah. Oh, and I see that exactly. I'm loving this conversation so much. And gosh, even despite all the things that we have done, there's still areas that we can improve upon in our house. Like we were talking about the vent. When we moved in the house, I'm a little embarrassed to share this, but the people before us, did a big remodel on the house, and it's a very coastal, really beautiful house. But they thought aesthetically, the vent didn't look good. They took it out from the outside. So it was there. They took the outside. I know. And so we have a Jasper in the kitchen and we have windows open as well. But obviously it's something that we need to fix. It's just a bigger fix.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, they remodeled it out, which I thought was so interesting. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But it was for aesthetics.
Yeah, that's something I've been getting really passionate about lately is just home building itself. I actually just joined the board of the Building Biology Institute last week.
Wow.
It's a really cool organization. And if you think about home builders, architects, developers, HVAC guys, the same way that doctors aren't trained on nutrition, The HVAC guys, HVAC stands for heating, ventilating, air conditioning. These are the people who install furnaces, air conditioners, etc. They're not trained about air quality health. So it's so funny. As crazy it is that the doctors aren't trained about nutrition, it's wild that the air guys aren't trained on air. So, like, one of the most exciting missions of everything we're doing is to start educating the builders, the architects, the developers, because we need two things to happen at the same time. We need the consumers like us to demand better homes. So most people live in a condo, apartment, or a subdivision home. That's the most common home. Now, if you walked into the subdivision home and on the front door it said cancer here, you would not buy it. But it doesn't have that sign, and most people don't have the, just like every Uber driver has a scented thing in their room, in their car. Most homes are built with cheap materials, horrible airflow, no water filtration, cheap products, not mold resistance, off gassing crazy amounts of VOCs, horrible paints. So when someone's building like a community, they're sitting around and they're saying, how do we, let's get our funding, but you're incentivized to build as fast and as cheap as you possibly can. How many square foot? Little grass yard in the front. This is the way we build homes here. There's no part where they're saying, hey, this is a home that if this home lasts for 100 years, 5, 6, 7 families might live here. Kids are going to grow up here. Families will get created here. People will grow old here. How do we make this home the most amazing place to be? And if you also think about the modern design of a home, going back to design, everybody wants to get their kids off their phone, themselves off their phone. What's in your living room has a giant TV on the wall. That's just a massive phone. So let's have some quality family time. Like, yards are small, shade is minimal. Everyone hangs out in their backyard, not their front yard, so there's no community. And then you put down your phone, so there's a giant TV on the wall. And homes and communities aren't really built for health and for community. So when even now, like in a lot of markets, real estate prices are down, interest rates are up, people aren't buying homes and moving much. You know who's still crushing it? Healthy home builders. There's no shortage of people who are begging to live in a healthier home, especially baby boomers. They got money more than they have time. And it's not, with the whole, like, a lot of the food stuff and the pharma stuff, it's very easy to get mad and say it's kind of like the evil big system and the faceless corporations are here to make you sick and profit, blah, blah, blah. I think with the air and the environmental stuff, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, so we need to have the incentives aligned where there's more people building healthy homes. Then they educate people on why you want a healthy home, because it actually doesn't cost almost any more money at all to build a healthy home, but it does take thoughtfulness. So your HVAC system now is typically it's the lungs of your home, and it's typically the last thing thought about. Just where can we shove the furnace? Let's run some vent, let's run some ducting, good enough. Instead of saying, like, the air and the water should be like, it's like the spine of the home. How do we get that foundation set and then do our design plans around that? And in the 1970s, the energy crisis kind of started. Energy prices were going up, lineups at the pump. People thought oil was running out. Bills were going crazy. So they said, hey, here's what we got to do. Let's change all the building codes and make homes super, super tight. Keep the cool in the summer, keep the warm air in the winter. Let's build these homes as tight as we can. And a couple things happened. Energy prices did not go down. Profits went up, though. But now, all of a sudden, we've basically trapped ourselves in these suffocatingly tight homes. So now it's time to say, hey, maybe we need to rebalance priorities. And now there's new technology. So you can build a home now that's incredibly energy efficient and breathes well. But I think at the core, to me, JASPR is a Band-Aid solution. The future should not be that everyone needs 5 air scrubbers needing them in every room of their home. We would not need them if we polluted less and built better homes. Yeah. But for at least the next 50 to 100 years, this is the Band-Aid solution that can get us to the next spot. But yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I mean, I want anyone listening to take away knowing that there are things you can do. And I think you gave us some really big things that we can do, like to really, support our, even if we live in these homes that are not built for our health in mind, which so many of us are living in, or apartments, or whatever your home situation is. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about JASPR. One, and we had air scrubbers in our house, and we did the whole remediation where we had, we cut another however many inches it is, You got to cut, what do they call it? You got to clear the margins. And then we did air scrubbers again throughout the entire house. But still, always the concern, especially living at the coast. So let's say a person at least wants to get, what would be your recommendation? Overall, in terms of relative to an air scrubber, they're priced well. They're not, air scrubbers are extremely expensive, right? Those are industrial.
And they're ugly and they're loud. They're not meant for home.
No, they're not. They're meant for those types of things, like dealing with a mold or issue or a flooding issue or something like that, a major remediation. If someone can only just get one or can get two, is the kitchen the place to put it, since cooking is such a big...
Okay. So first I'll start by just addressing that. Like, everyone thinks their area is kind of unique. Like, the coast is worse because humidity and mold, but it's
everywhere.
It's everywhere because if you're in an urban environment, you have all of the pollution from the city, the factories, the cars. If you live in a rural environment, they spray crops and farms a lot. So I've yet to ever be in it, unless you're living in like a treehouse in the Amazon. There's really no great environment that I've seen in the US and Canada.
Well, thank you for dispelling that too. Yeah, because everyone's told, oh, well, you live here, you're going to have these issues always. I just feel like all of us need support.
And, if you live in the mountains, it could be really dry. So like, everywhere kind of has its thing. If you live in an airtight home, you live in a pond. Yeah. Your home is a pond.
Yeah. So if we could get one JASPR or a couple JASPRs, given that all of our homes need air support and I need clean air, where would you recommend? I mean, I know, like you said, ideally we're putting JASPRs into many.
I'll set the range in the table.
Okay.
Because it's not a JASPR or no JASPR. There's really other good products out there too. And I think that's what's really important is, like, I'm just as touched if I get a review or an email from someone that mentions they started to crack their window and sleep better. Like, as long as people are becoming more air aware, we're doing our job. This is not about JASPR. So I want to give people some other options as well. What JASPR is uniquely designed to do is designed to be an air scrubber that also looks beautiful and is quiet. So that's kind of what's different about it. JASPR is larger as an air scrubber than most air purifiers, but it moves 5 times the air of an average little air purifier. So what does that really mean? Well, it means that it can be really effective even while being silent. So I'm sitting a couple feet from a JASPR right now. You can't hear a thing. So the big things that make it unique are, it's made from steel, not plastic. Everything about it is very much inspired by me as a mold restoration guy. I was trying to make an industrial grade machine that's designed for the home. Because I first brought an air scrubber home after a flood, and it was in my basement. I was living in Canada. People would come home and be like, this is like mountain clean air here. But at the same time, my wife's like, you got to get that photocopier out of the house. It's loud. It's ugly. Like, that can't live here. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's very unpractical. So it's very industrial in its performance, but beautiful in its design. The way it's designed as a cylinder allows you to put it against the corner or against the wall. The filter is way bigger than most filters. So most air purifiers, even if they look similar, when you take out the filter, they're half a pound, very flimsy. Our filter is 4.5 pounds, which means there's a term called DHC. No one talks about, and you'll notice everyone talks about their micron size and stuff. Nobody talks about DHC, which is your dust holding capacity. Mm-hmm. So it says, how much air can you clean before you lose your effectiveness? So a lot of air purifiers, the reason they want you to vacuum it every month is because their filters are filled. It's almost like it's like parking spaces. When as long as there's just 10 parking spots left, you can still park your car. But if there's 0, you got to find another lot. The lot is full. And then what happens if you vacuum a filter, you often damage the pleats in the filter. Because if you imagine you have a filter, very fine paper type material, synthetic paper. And when you vacuum it, if you look at it under a microscope, it's all ripped apart and damaged. So there's these gaping holes for mold spores to go through and allergens to go through and viruses to go through that you can't see. So we designed JASPR to be minimal maintenance. So you just change the filter every 6 months. It takes about 30 seconds to do so. Also, it shows you the air quality in real time on the screen. So when you're setting up your JASPR in the living room, by the way, if yours is in the kitchen, you could totally move it to the living room if it's more convenient. It doesn't have to be in the kitchen. It will work anywhere. You want it closest to where you're hanging out in the most convenient spot. So that one, you want to keep it on smart mode, which means it's going to be automatically detecting the cooking particles, incense, a bounce sheet that your neighbor is using. It could be someone 4 doors down is barbecuing. So the smart mode is going to automatically detect it, turn yellow, turn red, show you the particles on the screen, and come back down. When you're setting up JASPR in your bedroom, you would use fan speed 2 or 3 on dark mode. So turn off the light and use a higher fan speed. 91% of people that we actually poll of our customers, they like sleeping with some white noise. So fan speed 2 or 3, higher is better, because now you're going from having air that's 5 times cleaner to like 20, 30 times cleaner. So a higher fan speed, that's where the life-changing stuff happens. My sister's husband, and we get reviews like this every week, he was snoring for 5-6 years, to the point where she would actually either have to go to bed an hour before him to get a sleep before he would snore. But she said 99% of the time she would sleep in another bedroom. And they're in their like mid to late 30s. That is too young to be sleep divorced.
Yeah.
And also too common.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put their JASPR in and turned it up to fan speed 2, he hasn't snored since. They went to San Antonio for a weekend, no JASPR, he snored. They've been using an app called Snore Lab to test on the nights with JASPR versus no JASPR. On average, he snores 2.5 hours on the nights with no JASPR and 9 minutes on the nights with JASPR. And now they're sharing a bedroom again.
Nice.
So we get feedback like this all the time. So bedroom, you want to run it higher. In terms of quantity, you know, people want to say like, how many square feet does it cover? That's always a very popular question. So air cleaners don't care about square feet. They care about cubic volume. It's not a Roomba. So if you have an 8-foot ceiling versus a 16-foot ceiling, that's twice the volume of air. So that means that it's going to be half as effective. So to simplify things though, and when you're looking at a product and it talks about square feet, what it doesn't tell you is how clean is the air in that square feet. Is it 10% cleaner? Is it 90% cleaner? How high were the ceilings? So were they like 2-foot ceilings?
Mm-hmm.
So for me to give a square footage, first of all, it has to be 80% cleaner air on smart mode. That means silent, the lowest fan speed. When they usually tell you square foot, they're assuming it's on the loudest mode all the time, but nobody keeps it on the high speed setting all the time. So these are like kind of the air purifier marketing myths I like to spell a little bit. So 1,000 square foot with 8-foot ceilings, really effective on smart mode. So good, better, best. If someone can only get one, you want to put JASPR in your bedroom for sure. That's where the life-changing stuff happens. The average person sleeps. We did an Oura Ring sleep study last year, 150 people. The average person got 18% more deep sleep per night. And we did another mold study. It's on our website. We linked directly to the labs. In 1 hour, we removed 97% of the mold from a 500 square foot room with 8-foot ceilings. So like, that's the magic stuff, is the bedroom. If you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping, 1/3 of your life at work, and 1/3 sort of everywhere else, taking care of the sleep, number one, take care of where you work all day. Now you got 2/3 of your life covered. That is the 80-20 here. So JASPR's in the bedroom. And then if you cook a lot, definitely put one in the living room on smart mode. Now, there are other air purifiers that do a pretty good job. The ones that are a little more cost effective. The downside typically is they're loud and they're ugly. And the other thing is they have 1-year warranties. So you buy it, it breaks after 1.5 years, and then you got to buy another one. Or you're vacuuming filters, or it's high maintenance. So as proud as I am of the product that we've created, I'm more proud of our service. So we don't have any sales or customer support. We only have building biologists. So if people call us, text us, email us with questions, we only have really experienced people to answer those questions. And we have a lifetime warranty. So if your JASPR breaks, we ship you a new one the next day. Then you take the new one out of the box, you put the old one back in the box, you get a prepaid shipping label, and we pay for UPS to come pick it up off your front porch. Because nothing is worse than you have a warranty and you got to get the receipt, you got to get the box, weird shaped box, you got to go to FedEx, and you just lost half of a day. Then you pay $100 in shipping for a product that broke, and you were trusting that company to give you support, and then it's not there. For people though, who, if you're on the, JASPR is a premium product, right? It's $1,199. I have a really big discount for everybody at the end here today. But honestly, if someone just don't buy a cheap one at Best Buy or Home Depot or Walmart, you can actually make a DIY air purifier for under $150. That's very effective. And you can do it in a few hours right off of Home Depot. If you Google Corsi Rosenthal box, it doesn't matter if you spell it with a C or a K, Google knows what's up. It will be really effective because you'll have big filters. Basically, you take a box fan and you put filters around it, and it's going to kick ass compared to what you're going to get at the store, the cheap little plastic ones. The downside is you got to spend the time to build it. They're louder and they're uglier, and it won't automatically detect things. But like in a bedroom, it's still good. For wildfire smoke, it can be good. I would rather somebody get educated to make a DIY one that save their money than buy something that doesn't work. Because a lot of people, over 60% of Jasper customers have owned many air purifiers before. And my favorite review that we get is I've owned many before and I just didn't know if they were working. And with Jasper, it was undeniable in the first day. And that's also why if someone doesn't like, we give them all their money back. They have a month to decide. So yeah, best is one per bedroom and one in the main area. The most important one, though, is one in your bedroom. And DIY purifiers are a really fantastic option for people who are very budget conscious.
Thank you so much. My goodness. I interview people all the time, today included, and I'm walking away with so much. But the number one thing I'm walking away with is that we need another Jasper. That's the one thing I'm walking away from because I don't have one in my room. So my son yeah, I don't have one in my room. I have another one. We'll say, but my son's got one.
Consider it done. It's on the way.
Oh, thank you. It's so funny. The mama's always like, I'll just everybody else.
Actually, surprisingly, mom usually puts it in her room first.
Oh, really? Wow.
People put their kids first with everything, but when it comes to clean air, they usually do theirs first. And I actually encourage that because then they know firsthand the impact and then they can kind of calibrate for their kids. I just messaged Justin while we're talking. Jasper's on the way for your bedroom. It's done. Yeah.
What I want to say is that I'm walking away with so much. And you've given me such a deep appreciation. I can feel your heart. I can feel the mission. And like you said, I just love your authenticity and your honesty. And you're like, hey, this is a Band-Aid. It's a great Band-Aid. And we just
Band-Aids are good.
Better.
Band-Aids are important.
But we need to do better for our families, not us, but like as a society.
All of us.
All of us. And you just really opened my eyes to what I think so many of us know to be true. But hearing it from someone like yourself who has been in it, this has been your work for so long and just very honest about, how we can do better, how our houses can be built better, how we can protect our families and our children and even ourselves. It's just such a big breath of fresh air. You have no idea.
Wait, I just want to mention the school really fast.
Yeah. Yes.
We purchased a school about 2 months ago. It's in Austin, Texas. And this was inspired because when my daughter started going to daycare when she was 2.5 or school, she was getting sick all the time. And the doctors basically said, it's normal. She's going to be chronically sick for years until she gets every infection known to man. And that something didn't feel right about this. We got Jasper's in the school and she basically stopped getting sick. And then I read about the Finland study, which is a study done in Finland where they put air purifiers in half the classrooms and half the schools, and absentee rates dropped by 30% for teachers and for students. So we purchased a school locally here in Austin. It's called Kindling Academy. KINDLING.academy, but you can also check us out on Instagram. We open next August, not this August, but next August, ages 3 to 9. And what we're doing is we're calling it Kindling Academy, the healthiest school in America. We have a wait list, but also for anybody who's anywhere else in the country that just wants to follow the journey, we're open sourcing everything we're doing. So 2 Jaspers in every class, high quality water filtration in the whole building, really high quality lighting, diffused lighting, no big bright fluorescent lights or LEDs or anything like that. No toxic cleaning products, huge screened in porches. So it's default outside. And screened in porches will provide shade, but still in a contained environment. And then we're going to be tracking all of our health metrics online because I love when you can, public schools by states, they all get paid on on attendance. So our whole goal is if we can show that we have the healthiest school in America, teachers aren't getting sick, students aren't getting sick, it would actually be a profitable decision for public schools to invest in clean air. So yeah, and if anybody wants to follow along on the journey, I love talking about air, but I think starting with kids is number one. And we can do whatever we want at home, but if we send our kids to a toxic environment all day, then, it's not enough. So the reason why it's called kindling is because it's like a spark. We're not trying to make hundreds of schools. We want to create the healthiest school and then have a blueprint and a framework where people can say, hey, we want to do that for our school too. And we're going to be working on a program where we'll be strategically giving and educating schools. So we're going to have like a clean air partner program for schools. I was just talking to you before this, where we'll give JASPRs to the school and to the teachers and help the schools market themselves as, clean air spaces and things like that. That's our form of gifting. I think the most philanthropic thing that you can do is wherever you have leverage. And if we know how we can make JASPRs and we can get them out in front of these kids, I think that's the best thing we can do. So if anyone's interested, has kids and want to check it out, Kindling Academy, my wife is heading up that. I just needed to make sure I mentioned that.
No, I'm so grateful you did. I know that we've been talking about that individually, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you guys are doing that, because you're absolutely right. It starts with our kids. And I just want all of you to know that we've got a super sexy discount with using the code Dr. Mariza, and you're going to go to JASPR, that's JASPR.co, to go grab them and to use the code.
So basically the way it works is starting today, which is July 29th, until August 8th. I like keeping the dates easy. So between July 29th today and August 8th, code Dr. Mariza will give you $400 off JASPR. And JASPR has no E. It's JASPR.co. After August 8th, we'll still keep the code $200 off forever. So if this is not the week where you want to invest in clean air, it's all good. The code will be there forever. I just personally realized I always take action on my purchases when the deals are there.
Yeah.
And instead of waiting till Black Friday, our whole, you can't find JASPR at Best Buy, Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot, nowhere, because they don't know how to educate. They don't know how to support. They don't know how to offer lifetime warranties. They're not built for that. So our whole thing is, let's go talk to a really health conscious audience who's trying to be healthier for their families, eat better, sleep better, breathe better, drink better. And we know by giving you guys a good discount, you'll be able to put them in your home, have tremendous impacts, and then tell other people. Whether they go DIY or not, send them this podcast too for a little air quality 101. So just to recap, it's July 29th today until August 8th. Code Dr. Mariza will be $400 off. So instead of $11.99, it'll be $7.99. And hopefully some of you out there learned something today. If anybody has follow-up questions that we didn't answer about your particular situation, hit us up on Instagram or email us. We are here to serve.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you deeply.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.